Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's September 26th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and it was all downhill today. Notice here how we're kind of swinging back and forth above the EMA. This has kind of a sideways feel to it, but for the most part, past here, I would stick to the downside. You could have argued maybe to take some of these longs through here, but what this is a spike and channel down. Early on, you got a trend down here and you got a break and a new low. So um, it wouldn't have been out of the question to be looking for a long here. But when we turn back down here, you had to draw this line. I ended up tightening it up a little bit. I moved it down to here later on when we had those two touches, and you can see it still came into play all day. So, and that really when you draw your line there and here, the midline fits pretty well as well. You can see that. So, but you probably wouldn't have got. You probably would have been like me. You'd have had this. At one time, I even had it up here. But when we turn down right here, you want to move it down just in case, because it does look like a spiking channel. But then I end up tightening it up even a little more there, and you can see that fits well in the two-tiered channel working down. So, but again, you could get this line off this low here, but you probably wouldn't know exactly where it went up here until you got this turned down right here. You probably would have been close. You'd probably had it here. You should have tried it here on those two swings, and you'd have been close like me, and then you could try to tighten it up later. But the midline fits here, so it really makes sense there in the end. So anyway, let's back out, talk about the trades. But yes, let me back up again. But because of that two-tiered channel working down, and again, it's just a spike in channel. Once we broke on through here, I'd be real leery of any longs down through here. I've got one more green one here late in the afternoon, and I'll explain that one, but when we get to it. So, but let's back out, start with the first trades up here. We'll go from there. Um, when I came in, we had this correction going on here. Notice there's a clear channel working down here. It's holding prices very nicely, and we get a break here. And we're working up. We actually get a close outside here, and then you get two legs up to a new high. So you might have considered going short right there. Everything's still within that channel, but you got to close and two legs up. But you're almost always better off on the reversals, not trying to guess the tops. Um, but your channel working up here is played out with a break and two legs up. So there's some reasons to be a little aggressive there, but I think you're better off to wait on a lower high, which comes here. Notice how the reversal sets up. It pushes right through the EMA. It doesn't really get any resistance. Pulls back, closes underneath, gives you a bearish bar. I like going short there. And then, of course, when you get the second entry long that fails and gives you that bearish bar, you definitely got to enter there. So if you were already in here, I'd add on here. And if you weren't in yet, I'd definitely get in here if you could catch this one. This one took off so quickly that it may not have, you had to use a limit order most likely, and it may not have come back and filled you. So actually, when you saw it turn up here and start working down, you should have had a sell stop right here just in case. And it turns and goes out the other side, and that you might have been able to get filled like that as well. You would have got a worse fill, but it wouldn't have mattered because this thing, the bottom just fell out of it. And early on, I'd have been looking for a measured move from here to here. Let me just draw it out and show you. There's your first leg. I would have been, say, looking for a measured move down to here. You can see we don't get anywhere near that. But we can't because the channels wouldn't have allowed it until you can see it's way down here late in the day, but it was obvious why we couldn't get down there. So, but I would have been looking for that until it bounced here, and we found out that your channel's running down through here. So at that point, you would also measure this one. and then look for a measured move on that one. And I don't even think we quite got to that either. We're pretty close right there. Yeah, we got a perfect measured move, but we actually went a little further. So that was a good target on that one. So that's how we do that. Always look for those measured moves. But early on, I'd even been expecting maybe one like this whole leg here. But anyway, this one's a little aggressive, just basically on. So um, you want to take these two. This one's tempting, but the bar's not bearish enough. It's really close to these lows. I'd skip that one. And of course, now you got a break of this channel coming down and a new low, and there's actually two legs down, two measured legs down to a new low. And that would have been the other way I would have measured that. I would have measured this one. You can see we basically got a perfect measured leg there. So you get a break, two legs down to a new low, and then it reversed. Again, I'd wait for the higher low. There's a second entry long here. Notice how we push up and go through the EMA. We're higher than all those highs right there. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and just finding some support across there. There's a reason to like that one, thinking that, hey, this thing may reverse. And if there is a channel here, it may be sloping down way up here somewhere. You should have drawn this line here and started dragging it up. Even if you drug it to only here, you notice you still got a lot of room back to right there. So just something to keep in mind. So that's a little bit aggressive, but I still like it. It's a second entry long. You got a little trend line working up there, so you might get a new high on that. And then it just takes off. You get a pull back here with and another move higher. That's the push through the midline and a pull back to test it, and then it takes off again. Again, you might have entered here. That's a reversal pattern. It's right off the trend line. And of course, you get a break here, move to a new high. And again, I was looking for it up here. So it turned perfect as far as that goes, but I ended up moving it down. But you're a good bit away from the EMA. You've got a break here and a new high. There's a possible trend line there. There's a few reasons to like that one, but again, it's always better to wait on a lower high. So for that reason, but that's a pretty bearish move right where you're expecting something to happen. And you do have this trend working up to close outside and move to a new high. So there's several reasons to like that one. So I'm marking it green. Your lower high came here, but this was not a very good entry. Too neutral of a bar. It's not real bullish, but it's not bearish either. And notice you get two legs up, and so you get a nice second entry short here. And this is when I would have tightened this up a little bit. And off it goes. And then it comes back here to the trend line again. And notice we have an overshoot of this bigger channel here. This channel here, that's an overshoot. And so we pushed right through it. It never really held at all. Pulls back. And you get a confirmation of this trend line working down, and you're expecting prices to go lower here. And it actually went out the top and turned down the other side. I like just going short right there. And boom, you got plenty of room to get out before down here. So, and that one just keeps going. And then we get another reversal, very similar to this one. It's almost a repeat. But again, you might have considered here this your failure, but the reason I didn't is it's right into that lot of resistance there. And notice it did push through and fail and turn back down. But there's just, you definitely don't want to be going short with that possible trend line. And the fact that we've got a break and two legs down now off the original channel, but you're still really looking for lows in here, shorts too. So it's just risky going long at all. This one was real tempting, but then it's right into a double top, which there's another double top slightly lower than that. So I think you're better off just to skip all that and wait and see if you don't get a short. And guess what? It turns down right off that trend line. Look how bearish that is. It's a failed break higher here. It's a double, triple top right here. But the big thing is it's off the key entry point of this big double two-tier channel working lower. And that's very bearish. Just go short there. And you would have had a runner here. Probably would have had one over here, at least probably not all the way to the bottom. You definitely would have got a shorter one here, and this one you could have ridden it all the way down to the low. And so I'm just backing out so you can see how that channel looks, how it's coming right off that trend line. And that's a pretty nice move down. There's a breakout pullback short here, but that's a huge bar, and you got to go short at the low of the day. I say skip it. I'd be more inclined to buy long there to pull back to the EMA after a close outside and a new low. But at this point, I just don't think you really want to be trying to pick bottom, so you need a reversal pattern, and that doesn't come till here. And even then, there's been no break of the main trend line, and this thing has been fairly bearish. So I think it's aggressive, but notice the new low. You pull back first entry, it pushes right on through the trend line. Second entry short, it fails, and you figure prices may come all the way back to here. This is a good example of why you got to be careful. You would have gotten just enough to get out of this one, and then it turns down. But notice the close outside, move to a new high, and then you push up one more time. You really could have gone short on a break below that one. So really your entry was here. But you get another chance. If it would have broke higher there, I would have liked to add on. And you might, you really wouldn't have added on because you never would have been in this one yet. But if it would have broke higher, if you'd have got into this one and it turned back up and broke higher and turned down, I like adding on there. I really thought this thing was going to go all the way to the lows this time, the low side of the channel, but it didn't. But this gets you into the close of the day, and not much else there. So, the price action looks much more normal lately. We're getting anywhere between 8 and 10 trades a day. There weren't but maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe only six or seven, it looks like, of the red ones, and the rest of them there's several green. But a couple of these green, really, you could argue they're right there at the borderline to being red. You could argue just about all three of these being red. But I'm gonna leave them green because this had a downward bias today. Downward. It was a little bit right after the open. It was a little bit upward. But it was, it's kind of a temporary upward, but until it reverses, it's still kind of a upward. It was more upward to neutral at this point, right after the open. As you can see, we're just kind of going up and down, and we're below the EMA, above it, and that generally you can trade. Even here, we were kind of below it and back above it, but we were below it a good ways coming down through here. So yeah, that's about. Not much else you can say about today, but it was a pretty good day. Just remember that when you have these trend lines coming and you get the break and a new high, you're almost always better to wait on a second entry, or let me take that back, a lower high. That's what I really should have called that, or if you're coming off the bottom, a high or low, and it's much safer to wait on that because you'd be surprised at how many times it'll move down like this and then make one more push up, just like here. It looks like it's ready to go lower, and it makes one more push up and then traps everybody and then goes lower. So just keep that in. Like here, here's one. It made a lower high, and then it made one more push up. So, of course, that's after 2 o'clock, but it'll do that to you. And same thing to the low side. Here's one. It looked like it was way away from the EMA. It's not the perfect bullish bar, but it's got a bullish, and a lot of times it's going to snap back, but it makes one more little push lower, just enough to trap people and scare everybody out, and then it runs back up. But see what happens when you get your high or low, then it takes off. So you're better off, and same thing here. It looks like it's made a lower high, and it's going to go lower, and it ticks lower, and then runs right back up and stops everybody out, and then takes off. So always wait on these lower highs. This you wouldn't have gone short here because it's not bearish enough, and that would have kept you out of that little. But this is your reversal pattern when you get the failed second entry long and then the big bearish bar. So that's really what you want to see. Just like right here, that is a perfect setup right there. It doesn't get price action 101. You get the break of your trend line, move to a new high, and you're looking for a new low anyway, maybe another leg down. And look at it, pushes right through the EMA, pulls back, gives you a failed first entry, pushes down, pulls back one more time, fails again. It gives you a big bearish bar. That is classic. It just doesn't get any better than that. And it's off to the races down. If you caught either one of those, you get a nice runner here. So study that pattern if it doesn't make sense to you. And I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.